finish off 2022 with a bang. First, we'd like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend. And we also know that December can be a frenzied month with the holidays and all the sports in play. In the spirit of the season and due to the success of the Thanksgiving special, we are now offering a rest of the calendar year special to get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, or any other sport your favorite handicapper releases through December 31st for only $1.99. The early bird really does catch the worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon is needed and you pay only $1.99 today or pay $1.99 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2022.
Never in doubt, we are live. It's Monday, December the 5th. WagerTalk Today. It's a new week here at WagerTalk TV, and I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez, who is on assignment as we speak, trying to track down Teddy Covers in Las Vegas. Teddy remains ever elusive, and he's here with me today as my co-host on WagerTalk Today. And Teddy, action-packed show for Monday, December the 5th. What we got?
Sure. Meghan Payton's going to lead off the show with a trio of props for Monday Night Football. Marco D'Angelo is going to come in next. He's going to break down tonight's game from a side and total perspective as well. And he's going to talk about one NFL look-ahead line for next week with the Browns and the Bengals. My big game breakdown. I'm going to talk a little NBA Monday, a little Western Conference Finals rematch between the Mavs and the Suns. And Bryan Leonard is going to close out the show with a pair of opinions in college hoops for this evening, a limited college hoops slate. Yet Bryan's going to break down UMass Lowell against Long Island and North Dakota State against Portland. So a loaded Monday show. Steve, worth noting, Prez has been in town since what, Friday? Yeah. I haven't seen him. I see him more on this show than I do when he's in my town.
And just for the new viewers out there, Teddy is not complaining. Just for any new viewers we might have on the show right now. Yeah. Although I will say, Teddy, Prez in person is probably more fun for you than Prez on the show here. So he's a little bit of a different guy off camera. Is he the same even for you?
You think Prez is different off air?
No, not at all.
Prez is exactly the same on air and off air. There's not much. I don't think there's any of us that put on a whole lot of a different personality when you come on air, especially for a show you do every day. Yeah, Prez is Prez, dude. I'm me, you're you. And our first guest, Meghan Payton, is Meghan Payton.
Yeah, we didn't get to meet Meghan, unfortunately, in Vegas. I was going to say everyone at the meet and greet in August was exactly as I thought they were here on the shows. I felt like Meghan, I'd known them for years and had met them hundreds of times, and basically none of them except for Teddy and Prez had I ever met in person, like every other, and Bryan Leonard, actually. But I'd never met Marco in person. Haven't met you yet in person, but I feel like I know you as well. So hopefully you can join us at the next meet and greet. We did it last March and we did it last August. So August would be good because you can get in the Westgate Super Contest with all of us in the Circa, get in some NFL contests. Meghan, right? How was your weekend? How's the NFL been treating you?
It's been good. It's been fun. I feel like we're pushing along. We're finally at week 14. And now this is like when it gets serious and playoff implications start. You kind of notice, to me, I think you guys can attest to this. The sports books, they start to get a little sharper. They know that, you're going to be more inclined to betting as your team gets closer to potentially making the playoffs, not making the playoffs. But this is an interesting one we've got for Monday night, Saints versus Bucks. I'm excited to dive into it with you guys.
Yeah, and Meghan, I've always said too, like college football and pro football, it's like there's 4 quarters to the season, the way you handicap. And I feel like like you said, we're kind of entering that last quarter now. And people keep trying to get value with some of the bad teams. Houston Texans, I mean, I don't know. It's a team that it's really difficult to touch at any time in the near future, I think. So we'll see how that plays out. But we do have an interesting matchup tonight, Monday Night Football. Obviously the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe that probably were the preseason favorite to win the NFC at a lot of the sports books. Brady obviously has had some off-field distractions. The offense hasn't been clicking. Do you think they get back on track tonight against the Saints team? A team I'm sure you followed a lot over the years. They've had some problems this year as well. How are you approaching this game tonight?
This is a tough game. if you would have looked at both of these teams during the offseason, I don't think anyone would predict that both the Bucs and the Saints would be under 500, still yet competing for a division spot. The playoff implications of this game is pretty funny because yet their records are bad, but someone's got to win the NFC South. I would say the Bucs have a slight edge here. The Saints are dealing with a little bit more injuries. The Bucs are going to be a bit healthier going out there tonight. Yet I will say New Orleans has done really well against this Bucs team in years past. Since Tom Brady has arrived at the Bucs, the Saints are 1-4 in regular season games against the Buccaneers. But I do have 3 player props that I'm going to be leaning towards tonight. Number 1, let's start with Tom Brady. I'm looking at under 273.5 passing yards for Brady. First of all, the connection between him and his number 1 wide receiver, Mike Evans, it's not there. There's a failed connection that's happening. This offense isn't clicking. And look, it might be Mike Evans' fault, but it's still affecting Tom Brady's passing yards. The last 2 games, he has not hit over this number. And yet you talk about Brady against Saints, he's not typically fantastic. Saints are able to create a lot of pressure towards Brady. They played earlier this season. Brady only put up 190 passing yards. He's going up against a Saints defense that's 7th in pass defense. I expect it to be a slower night for Brady through the air. Take under 273.5 passing yards for Brady, which leads me to my second point. I'm eyeing running back Rachaad White over his rushing yards. Now, the line isn't out right now because we're waiting to hear the status of running back Leonard Fournette. Yet, I'm probably going to be looking at the over for Rachaad White, regardless of Leonard Fournette's status. I don't think that they'll put it higher than 60.5, even if Fournette's playing, and I'll take the over. Look, Rachaad White has been the more explosive running back for this Bucs offense. He's been able to take advantage of the holes that he creates, and he's putting up 64 yards last week, over 100 rushing yards the week prior. This is going to be a game on the ground going up against a Saints run defense that's 22nd in the league. If the Bucs are going to win this thing, it's probably going to be on the ground, and Rachaad White might be that guy to target. Look at the over on his rushing yards when that line does come out. And lastly, to throw a Saints player prop in there, I'm going to give a little bit of credit to Alvin Kamara. I think he's such a great player, so I'm taking Kamara over 82.5 receiving and rushing yards combined. I think I took this last Monday night that the Saints played. And Kamara is a player that really just is the heart of this Saints offense. It's been disappointing for Kamara this year. He fumbled the ball twice last week against the Niners. It hasn't been the Kamara that we know and we love. Yet this Saints offense is just struggling right now. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Kamara tonight to be the control of this offense. There's a lot of wide receivers out tonight, and Kamara's been able to do well against this Bucs team. He didn't play in week 2 earlier this season. He's still averaging over 8 targets per game. Interesting enough, Kamara is targeted more with Andy Dalton than he is with Jameis Winston. And then you look at him from the rushing side, he's going to probably have a majority of the carries like he always does. And Mark Ingram questionable right now with a foot injury. I expect him to play, but I don't expect his production to be a ton. So they're going to rely on Kamara. I take 82.5 over receiving and rushing yards.
So here's my question for you, Megan, because it sounded to me like you were making a lot of cases for the under in this ballgame.
Yeah.
And certainly, we look at these 2 offenses, all right? The Saints have scored 50 points in the last 4 weeks combined, average of 12.5 a game. They got shut out last week. Tampa, 22 or less in their last 7 games, averaging about 17 points per game during that span. These are not 2 offenses that are clicking. The first meeting between these 2 teams was a 3-3 tie until New Orleans made a couple of mistakes that Tampa was able to take advantage of. Defensive scrum, the last meeting last year, defensive scrum was at 10-9 or something when they played a year ago. So we have offenses that are struggling. We have defenses that have owned these offenses in recent weeks and recent years, and yet 2 or 3 props are for overs. Tell me why.
And you know what? I actually thought about this, and I had a feeling, Teddy, that you were going to ask me this. And the reason that I am targeting the overs on a game that I am targeting the under for as a whole is because we've got to see yards somewhere. I mean, at the end of the day, if it's not going to be through your quarterbacks, it's going to be on the ground, and the number's still low. Look, Rachaad White, if his line comes out and it's 85 rushing yards, don't take the over. But if you're seeing it in the 60 range, I still think we can take the over there. And then as far as Alvin Kamara goes, I love a receiving rushing yard combined prop for Kamara. 82.5. It's low like that because he fumbled the ball twice last week. I don't think Kamara is going to do that again. He's going to be involved in this offense, yet it is going to be a low scoring game. I think Kamara is the one player that you can target an over for, especially when you're seeing it at 82.5.
It's Meghan Payton, and she talked about the NFC South, who doesn't want to win this division. Right now, Tampa 5-6, Atlanta 5-8, which is kind of weird. They've played 2 extra games at Tampa right now because of the bye and the Monday night game, and then Carolina and the New Orleans Saints 4-8. So it's a really interesting scenario where a losing team might win this division. So it's a big game tonight, even though they're both below 500. Meghan, great stuff as always. Where can people find you this week? I know you love to talk NFL props.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have all this stuff. It's always on wagertalk.com. We're bringing back primetime preview and plus money pick. We almost cashed our money this past week with the Giants, but this is all stuff that you can find on YouTube on the WagerTalk TV app, and we'll continue to do stuff with the Prez show on Wednesday. But I appreciate you guys having me on every week. I love talking Monday Night Football. Let's go cash some tickets tonight.
Great to see Meghan as always, and she joins us every Monday right here off the bat to talk Monday Night Football. And we've got another month of Monday Night Football right here on Mondays on WagerTalk Today. Teddy, Meghan brought up a good point. Week 14 is around the corner here, and we're kind of down the home stretch here. The NFL, college basketball, pro basketball at a daily basis, of course. It's a great time of year to be a sports bettor, to say the least. And we're going to have Marco D'Angelo on in a minute. But first, I want to know what you learned over the weekend, and if you saw any bad beats, bad bets, you know what the deal is.
I do know what the deal is. It is time, like we do every Monday here on Wager Talk Today, for a little bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books of recap of what just happened this past weekend. And certainly from a college football standpoint, was Purdue a bad beat versus Michigan? I think it was. And the Boilermakers gave them a game. Purdue won the yardage battle by 80. They won the time of possession. Michigan, minus 16, minus 16.5, minus 17. They're up 9. There's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They punt the ball away. What happens? You don't cover a whole lot of those when you're laying 17, not when you're up 9 and punting. Purdue throws a pick. Michigan gets a 16-yard touchdown drive. Purdue gets a field goal to cut it back to 2 touchdowns and cover the onside kick. Oh, Michigan recovers. They face a 4th down from the Purdue 36, up 14. They go for it. They make the first down, then they break one. Leave first and goal, punching the final TD with just over a minute to play to win by 21. Tough if you had Purdue. Chicago Bears were pretty tough yesterday. That was a tough beat for sure. They're winning the whole game. They're plus 3.5. They're down 1 and driving to win. And then Fields throws a pick, and the Packers need a couple of first downs. Instead, they come out throwing and score a touchdown, and they go for 2 to make it a 2-score game. The Bears are driving in for the back door. They still have timeouts, still trying, but they throw a late pick right by the goal line. Green Bay wins by 9. Tough if you had Chicago. How about the Niners-Dolphins under? You have a backup QB. No, a third-string QB in for Brock Purdy for San Fran. It's 23-17. There's 3 minutes left. San Fran's with the ball. They kick the field goal. Then a Tua fumble 6 just before the 2-minute warning. The over cashes in that one. That was no fun for underbettors there. And I don't know what to call the Browns-Texans. Certainly an awful beat for Houston Packers. Cleveland scored twice on defense, once on special teams. 0 offensive touchdowns. Sean Watson was rough, yet they covered with room to spare. Minus 7.5, minus 8. That was bad for the books, too, because nobody bet the Texans. Everybody bet the Browns. Speaking of bad for the books, let's see. All the Joes loved USC versus bad bets, I should say. All the Joes loved USC against Utah. The Utes blew them out in the Pac-12 title game. North Carolina was a very popular underdog on Saturday night. Clemson destroyed them 39-10. There was lots of Ravens money against the Broncos yesterday. Hard to cover in minus 9, minus 9.5 when you only scored 10. There was lots of money on the Titans yesterday against Philly. That was a wrong side. When it comes to bad for the books, Kansas State was bad for the house. They were plus 2.5, bet all the way to minus 1.5. They won by 3 in overtime. Wild game there. Toledo, Ohio total was bet down a full touchdown. That was right. 17-7 final. No sweat under there. All the sharp money came for Tulane. They blew out UCF. Fresno took all the sharp money as well. Bulldogs win outright over Boise by 2 scores. In the NFL, bad for the book. Certainly the Cowboys blow it over Indy. Was not good for the house last night. Pros and Joes both on Dallas. Might be a contrarian night in the NFL as a result of last night's debacle for the books. And, of course, the Steelers win at Atlanta. Same story. Pros and Joes both on Pittsburgh. That's a pretty bad result for the books. There you have it, Marco. There you have it, Steve. Marco's coming. Bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books.
Yeah, Marco is coming, and I think he'll be with me on Wednesday, Teddy, if I'm not mistaken, right? You're going to get a much-deserved day off on Wednesday, so it'll be Marco and me as well.
Oh, it's no fun. I got to go get a...
No fun? It's a bad day off?
No, I have a minor... they got to dig something out of my back. I have a minor surgery on Wednesday morning, so that'll be fun. Should be fine. Not anything I'm worried about, but yeah, I gotta go have a little surgery. So
I figured you're probably meeting with the accountant, but this is a worse reason. Not that the accountant's a great reason either. So I hope that goes well for you. And yeah, we will miss you on Wednesday. We'll get you back healthy on Thursday, hopefully. And by the way, Meghan mentioned once again, week 14, kind of the final quarter of the season. I thought it'd be a good time real quick to look at the worst spread teams. Tampa Bay 3-7 against the number is the worst point spread team this year in the NFL. They're playing tonight. Rams, depending on your numbers, 4-7-1, 3-7-2 is right up there with them. And then New Orleans 4-8, not far behind against the spreads. You've got two of the biggest money burners in the NFL so far this season playing tonight on Monday Night Football. And speaking of Monday night, we always bring Marco in to talk some Monday Night Football. He's also going to look at an advanced game for next Sunday, as Teddy mentioned. But Marco, let's stick with the theme of Monday Night Football here on WagerTalk Today. What do you make of this game, Tampa against New Orleans? Like Meghan Payton said earlier, these teams are both below 500, but they're both in contention to win the division, so it's a pretty crazy matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got, the Saints, as bad as they are, at 4-8. They're only one game behind Tampa Bay in the win column, so a win tonight gets them right back in the playoff race. But the flip side to that is a loss by the Saints tonight, and basically their season's over because they would fall 2 games behind them in the win column, but it would be more like 3 in reality because that would have been a season sweep for Tampa Bay on the season, and they would have to overcome that and win, pick up 3 games, and that won't happen with what's left on the season. So, hate to use the phrase, but for the Saints, it is a must-win game. Now, we look at this game and look at the nuts and bolts of it. Both teams come in here as top 10 defenses at yards per play allowed. So looking at two teams that should be able, it's a division game. We know that these division games have been played tight. We've seen a lot of unders this year in division games. But I'm also looking at the Saints and what's been their problem. And their problem, very simple, has been turnovers. This is a team that's got 21 turnovers on the season. But maybe they catch a break tonight because the team they're facing, Tampa Bay, has only forced 3 turnovers in the last 8 games. So if they can stay in this game without turning the ball over, I think they've got a big chance in here. And as you heard Meghan say earlier, the Saints defense has been a nightmare for Tom Brady since he's gone to Tampa Bay. I can't lay points with a team that just struggles to score. Tampa has only topped the 21-point mark twice all season. That's not something you think of with Tom Brady. And lastly, I think the Saints are going to be able to have some success running the football tonight. Tampa has been gashed in 3 of the last 5 games. They gave up 173 yards to Carolina on the ground, 231 to Baltimore, and 189 to Cleveland. Now, granted, the Saints' running game isn't as good as the last 2, Baltimore and Cleveland, but I think they'll be able to have some success tonight. I'm going to go ahead and look at the dog here. I like taking the division road dogs. Those have been profitable this season, but I got a stat for you on the Saints. Granted, I know Teddy will counterpunch me and say, yeah, but that was with Sean Payton. Well, okay, until we see it move the other way, I'm going to look at the team angle. And the Saints, when playing on the road, revenging a same-season loss, they're 20-8 against the spread. Last 28 times that's occurred. Give me the Saints tonight plus the 3.
Yeah, but Marco, isn't that a Sean Payton stat? I'm just teasing you. I want to talk about turnovers right now because you talked about New Orleans. I mean, they're tied with Indy at the bottom of the league in terms of turnover margin at -14. Of course, We saw the Colts get annihilated last night, continue to turn the ball over. But the Saints, number 2 in giveaways with 21, and he's got 26. But they're not taking the ball away either. That's maybe the biggest issue. Only 7 takeaways all year for New Orleans. What makes you think that all of a sudden, tonight, on the road, facing a good defense, that the Saints are going to turn this around? Because my tendency tends to be at this stage of the season, the bad turnover teams are bad turnover teams. That's not something that's likely to be fixed. What makes you think the Saints are undervalued because they're a bad turnover?
Just because the situation is looking at Tampa. At the beginning of the season, Tampa was getting turnovers, Teddy, if you look the first few games. But as I said, the last 8 games, they're not producing any turnovers. So, yeah, we know that the Saints, have that tendency, but we also see that Tampa's not getting any turnovers. So what makes you think that they're going to get some tonight? I could come back to you and say, looking at the last 8 games, they only have 3. That's why I'm going to go ahead and go with the Saints in this one. And again, the offense, you don't want to be laying points when you're not scoring points, okay? This is not a Tampa Bay team that's putting up points like they did before. You remember last year, it was a every week occurrence to see 30-plus from Tom Brady, and we were singing his praises. Father time and side distractions, they're catching up to the old man here, and I'm going to take the dog that's got to play with their hair on fire tonight because this is their season. No question about it. It's done after tonight if they lose.
Marco D'Angelo, and don't forget it's $9 Monday. He's got a nice special offer for $9 Monday. We're going to get to in a moment after one more NFL game. But you mentioned Tom Brady struggling. Another quarterback that struggled yesterday was Deshaun Watson. I don't think there's ever been a lot of comparisons between Brady and Watson on the field or off the field, but it's an interesting game to talk about next week. Your Cleveland Browns, and he's a big Steeler fan. Now, Marco, the Browns and Bengals, 2 of your arch rivals in that AFC division. How you handicapping this one? I can't read much into beating the Texans. I talked about it at the Open. They're struggling right now, and everyone keeps trying to find value with Houston. It just hasn't been there. Bengals, big win against Kansas City, come from behind yesterday. How are you handicapping this one next Sunday, Browns and Bengals?
Well, you start with Cleveland yesterday. Did Cleveland really win this game, or did Houston lose the game? I mean, let's be honest about it. This is a spot where I am looking at taking the market that I think right now is overpriced on Cincinnati. Full disclosure, I was very happy with the Cincinnati outcome yesterday. That was my 5% play on the Bengals. I think I lost maybe, a year or 2 off my life expectancy watching it going up and down the field, the 2 teams, and getting the win there. But I look at Cleveland. What did you expect yesterday with Deshaun Watson? I did have Houston, not for my clients, but I gave Houston out on the show, and I used Houston in my Circa contest yesterday because I just did not think that Deshaun Watson would have a good game. I was half right. He didn't. It's just that Houston turned the ball over so much and put them in big holes and easy scores for Houston with the defense. That was a tough spot for Deshaun Watson. Going back to Houston with all of the side stories, but let's be realistic. The man hasn't thrown a meaningful pass in 2 years. What did you expect him to do yesterday? Now that he's got a game under his belt, I expect him to be better this week. I also expect that running game of Cleveland that we know how good it is with Chubb and Hunt with that tandem, that as the passing game starts to improve and teams have to respect the Cleveland passing game, the running game is going to be even better. And then on the flip side to Cincinnati, even though this is a division game, that was a big win on yesterday for Cincinnati. Everybody was talking, Kansas City and revenge from last year's AFC Championship game. You had the stats on Mahomes in November and December. The guy never loses, all of that. Big win. I like to refer to it as that was Cincinnati's legitimizer because a lot of people felt they didn't deserve to be in a Super Bowl last year. They started the season slow, but here they are. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. What do we have? When I sent the play in last night to you guys, I sent it in at plus 4.5. I like Cleveland at 4.5. I wake up this morning, I'm seeing 6s there. So, the public, the market's jumping all over Cincinnati. I'm just going to say be careful. This is a division game. And I was on the horn this morning with our good buddy, Stat Daddy, Ralph Michaels, and got, a stat for you involving, road dogs, division road dogs. Since 2019, they're 113-92 against the spread. Okay, we're talking about 55%. But if you do a subset of that, and that division road dog, if this is the second meeting and they won the first meeting at home, they are 23-11 against the spread since 2019. That's a 67% angle. I'm getting an inflated line. I got some history on my side with it, and I expect a better performance from Deshaun Watson. So give me Cleveland. I'm going to call for a little upset here. I think it's going to be a 3-point game either way, 31-28 with Cleveland.
So I'm not 100% against you here, Marco. Conceptually, I see where you're going in this one. That said, you talked about the Bengals, winning. They won 4 straight. They won 6 of their last 7. The only loss during that span was when they got punked, that Monday Night Football, by these same Cleveland Browns. So from a flat spot perspective, you got punked by your division rival. Now you get a chance for revenge at home. Do you legitimately think that I understand they just beat the Chiefs, huge win. They beat the Chiefs before. They haven't beat the Browns before. Not this year. Not since the last 3 times they beat KC. Do you given the circumstance of losing to Cleveland earlier in the year, does that mitigate some of your concerns about the flat spot, or is it just, hey, you beat Kansas City, you're not coming out with your A game next week?
We talk about it all the time, Teddy. Whenever you have a game like you had yesterday with Kansas City and Cincinnati, both teams went up and down the field. Each team, I think, only punted 1 time, in the game. You had Cincinnati had an opportunity, right before the half to make an 11-point game, and they run the football on 3rd and 4th down in a bunch formation, which is my biggest, just drives me absolutely nuts. Just ask Bryan Leonard anytime he's out with me. I'm dropping F-bombs when I see everybody at the line. It was just that kind of game that I think it's draining and is going to take a little bit out. And then you look at the game, and as you said, everybody's going to talk about Deshaun Watson and how bad he performed last week. And you saw a 1.5 move. Wait on this game. The line's only going to go one direction in this one. And yes, it's a division game, but you know what? Cincinnati can get their revenge, 33-30, whatever score you want to put. Just keep it under 6, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, Marco, I was going to say exactly that. Last night on Sunday, this line was -4. 12 hours later, it's -6. So we've definitely seen an adjustment from the opener last night. And the look ahead last week was as low as 3.5 at one point. So it's been priced in that Deshaun Watson did not play well yesterday on Sunday. That's Marco D'Angelo, and it is $9 Monday. And Marco, you're taking it a step further. You've got an all access for $9 today on Monday. Tell us about it.
Well, the reason I do that is because obviously I give you the Monday night game on here, so I got to give you something more than sell you just my Monday night pick. That wouldn't be fair to you guys. So if you like what I've done on the show, and I didn't bring it up to Teddy because he was kind of nice in his second cross-examination, saying he totally didn't disagree with me. We are 12-2 the last 7 appearances here on the show, and we've been on a really good run with all of our plays. 26 and what the heck are we here?
26 and 12.
26 and 12 the last 9 days.
Woo.
So you can pick everything up for $9 today.
Yeah, 26-12 and a push. We won't hold that against you because you're still up over 45 units the last 9 days. That's Marco D'Angelo. And once again, get all of his best bets for $9 because it is $9 Monday. Everything, every capper, $9 today. Monday only, WagerTalk.com. Teddy, great start to the show here. We're going to take a quick break and then a big game breakdown. It's time to talk some NBA from Teddy Covers in 30 seconds.
Let's finish off 2022 with a bang. First, we'd like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend. And we also know that December can be a frenzied month with the holidays and all the sports in play. In the spirit of the season and due to the success of the Thanksgiving special, we are now offering a rest of the calendar year special to get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, or any other sport your favorite handicapper releases through December 31st for only $1.99. The early bird really does catch the worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon is needed, and you pay only $1.99 today or pay $1.99 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2022.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some NBA for Monday night. This one should be fun. A Western Conference semifinals rematch from last year. The Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks. Right now, looking at the WagerTalk Live odds screen, let's call it the Dallas -3, the total 221.5 as the prevailing current odds. Dallas won the playoff series last year. In the regular season, the series has been all Phoenix of late. 10 straight wins for the Suns in the regular season, including rallying from a 22-point deficit on opening night to beat the Mavs 107-105. So it's certainly been a series in the regular season that has worked in the Suns' favor. And right now, there's no question which of these two teams is playing better basketball. The Suns have won 7 of their last 8. The Mavs just 2 and 5 in their last 7. Now, Phoenix is on the second of back-to-backs, but they annihilated San Antonio yesterday. All the starters sat for most of the second half. They had 38 assists on 49 main field goals. Devin Booker continued his tear. The quotes after the game, nothing but positive. You know, everybody shares the ball on this team. The ball always moves faster than the defender. So they're relatively fresh for the second of back-to-backs. And Dallas, coming off a rare road victory, blew out the Knicks on Saturday. How about this stat for you? The Mavericks off a win, 4-7 straight up this season, 1-10 against the spread. I do not trust Dallas to do it twice in a row. I think Phoenix is a better team. And even on the second of back-to-backs, we'll look for the Suns to take care of business in Dallas. Give me Phoenix plus the 3. There's your big game break. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
And once again, there'll be more NBA talk, of course, Monday through Friday, including today at 4:15 Eastern. So a lot of NBA talk if you want to dig deep into the NBA games at 4:15 Eastern every day here on WagerTalk TV. And, of course, college basketball show is at 2 o'clock Eastern coming up in just a couple hours. But between this show and that, we've got opening line report, 1 o'clock Eastern, about a half hour with Teddy Covers and Drew Martin. A look at every NFL game for this upcoming week. It's must-see TV with Teddy Covers at 1 Eastern, opening line report. Speaking of college basketball, though, at 2 o'clock Eastern, let's talk some college hoops now with Bryan Leonard. And, Bryan, you know, Teddy said at the start, not a very pretty card, but it's a card that we can still find some value. And you will be on at 2 o'clock Eastern here with Brian Power and Matt Joseph, so you can catch more college talk with Bryan Leonard today in just about an hour and a half. But, Bryan, let's dig into these ugly ducklings on Monday college basketball. This is often how it works on Monday because everyone plays Saturday, a lot of them play Sunday, and then they take Monday off. But we do have some bettable options. UMass Lowell and Long Island. I want to know your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the management behind all these shows I got to do today. I got 4 shows to do. And you know me, I like to give out the best of the best. So everything is going to be free today if you watch all of my shows. I've already got play in the NHL show. I've got 2 plays right now. These are actually my $9 plays. Yeah, UMass and UMass Lowell and Long Island. I'm a huge proponent of the shot quality numbers, shot quality metrics. I pay for their service. I get a lot of great information from that. And this is just one of those games in which we can take a look at that and show that this is how we can make some money. You got Lowell coming into this matchup 6-1 on the season. Long Island hasn't won a game all year long. This isn't a play on Long Island. This is a play against UMass Lowell, the Riverhawks in this game. Take a look at what they've done so far. I said they're 6-1 on the season. But when you take a look at what the shot quality results are against the actual results for the game, you don't want to lay this double-digit number with Lowell. I believe they're 16 right now. I've taken a little bit of money down on that so far. Some people have bought my play, and it's going down a little bit. But, you know, they start off the season They played Columbia. They win that game by 27. Blowout win over Columbia, not so fast. They were very lucky in their shots, whereas Columbia did not hit shots they normally do. In fact, the win percentage in that game was 50-50. So they win that game by 27 points in a game that was a toss-up. They play two more games. They play Sacred Heart. They win that game 90-81. Ending win percentage was 49%, another toss-up. Brown, they win that game by 11. 43% win game percentage after the game is over. So they're getting very lucky, shooting very strongly in these games, and it's not going to last. We saw a little bit of it last time they played against Sacred Heart. They win that game by 11. Should only won by 7. So they're starting to get there a little bit. And they play this LAU team tonight in Long Island that's not very good, but they're just the opposite. They're a team that's playing closer games than what the final scores have been. We're catching 16 with Long Island here on it. It's an ugly game, believe me. It's an ugly game here on Monday, but there's value in taking the ugly home dog in Long Island on this one. Go for the Blackbirds plus the 16 points.
So I want to talk conceptually here, Bryan, about playing, some of these extra board games with teams that you're never going to see them on TV. In terms of the quality of information, even when you're digging for info on Long Island U, you're not finding a whole lot of info on the LIU basketball team. But the profiles you're putting together are statistical profiles.
Yes.
And those are strong enough without seeing the teams or without knowing that much about the teams. The stats themselves are strong enough to make wagers. Talk to me about that process, because these are teams that I don't see and I don't know a lot about.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it just tells you there's different ways to make a living betting on sports. You yourself, you're nice enough to exchange plays with me every day. I read your write-ups. You write about a lot of quotes of the teams. You write about games that you watch. You're a watcher. I've never been a watcher and being able to tell. Hockey, I could tell a little bit, but for football, I've never been a watcher and being able to say, you know what, this team is better. They didn't show it, unless you're looking on the lines, the offensive and defensive line, and that's what I use when I look at the games. So we both handicap a little bit differently, but we both have success doing it. I'm a numbers guy, always been a numbers guy. I've been a big math guy my entire life. I like to look at, for football, I like to look at yards per play. I like to look at, turnovers, that kind of thing. I don't get a chance to watch every game. I'm not going to sit there and watch every game. It's just impossible for me to do. Tried to do it in the NFL one year and had my worst year ever. That's not what I do. I'm a numbers guy, and I look for positions where I think one team is being undervalued in the betting market. Now, I've been handicapping hockey for the last 6 years, and I've made more profit on the site than anybody out there. I'm not a hockey expert. There's guys out there who've been handicapping hockey for 40 years. I look at expected goals. I think expected goals are wonderful. It's a great way to look at hockey if you're not watching a lot of hockey, and it's paid off for me. This is the expected goals of basketball. Looking at what the shot quality numbers say they should have been based on the talent of the teams, how close the defender was, and if a guy is able to shoot 70% from a short distance, in that game he shoots 50%, that could be 6 points in the final score that aren't there. So I want to look at something sort of like a game grade that a lot of people do in college football. I know Phil Still does that, and I love that. But this is what I do in that regard. So I'm able to look at the games. It's something I do in every sport, something I do especially in college basketball. These numbers tell me that this UMass Lowell team has been winning, but not by nearly what these numbers have shown, and the line gets inflated because of that.
Yeah, Bryan, I love what you're saying, because I've always said the one edge you find in sports betting, well, the one edge you have as a bettor is you don't have to bet every game on the board, right? You can pick your spots. They have to put numbers on all these ugly duckling games, and you can step in and find value occasionally with them. And the key to winning long-term, whether you're watching games or whether you're looking at stats, is to find games in which teams are undervalued against the overall final scores, because that's pretty much what these odds and power ratings are being set on, is strength of schedule and final margin. And that's where you dig in deeper and find some misleading box scores. Let's talk about one more ugly duckling game, North Dakota State, Portland. You're also going to have this game actually on the 2 o'clock Eastern show, and Bryan will be back at 4:15 Eastern, along with Teddy Covers on the NBA show, Must See TV today on Monday. North Dakota State at Portland. Bryan, what you doing with this one?
Yeah, very similar to what I do for the sides. I look for a team that's trending a certain way, and I'm able to go against a lot of times the line moves in college basketball. Let's just take a look at Portland right here. They're 5-4 on the season. The last 4 games against North Carolina, 170 points scored. Should have been 149. That's a 21-point differential to the under. Against Villanova, 154 points scored, and they should have been 143. Another 11 towards the under. Michigan State, 155 points, 145, 10 points towards the under. North Dakota last time out, 159 points and 157. Still under by 2 points. You look at the same for the last couple of games from North Dakota State as well. 152, about 143, and 148 and 136. So we're looking at both teams trending the under, but because of hot shooting in these games and poor defense, we're looking at a total that in the past would be over. This one is a clear buy on side on the under. These are two teams, and by the way, I'm 7-0 the last 2 days. College basketball, 14-3 run in college basketball, and I'm doing the same thing each and every day. So these are things that work for me every day. If you don't want to buy my plays, you can always pay for shot quality service. It's a great service to have out there. You can do your own handicapping, but these are things that I do, and I look to go against what's happening lately and try to be ahead of what's going to happen in the future.
So, Bryan, you talked a little bit about the markets there, and the markets can zigzag on a lot of these games. Both Dave Sherapin and Arthur DeCesar, two bookmakers who we have on the show on WagerTalk Today every week, both of them have come out and say, hey, when it comes to college basketball, if we break even from the start of the season to Christmas, we've done good. The line move, the early season line moves tend to be pretty strong, or at least, better than the late season line moves. Mm-hmm. Do you pay any attention to that kind of stuff for a game like this? You talk about how you weren't worried about where the markets were moving. When it comes to these early season games, the line moves, you want to be with them or do you want to be against them?
Well, I prefer to be with them, but early on in the day, it doesn't matter to me because a lot of guys are just trying to play numbers at this point. They may take a number thinking it's going to go up, expecting it to go up, and try to set themselves up for later on. So I don't pay much attention to it. Now, I will say, late in the day, I've found this in every sport. Jay Kornegay always says the late money is the right money. And you mentioned college basketball, baseball. Sports books don't make a lot of money off of those. So if you see a line move the last half an hour of the day, last hour of the day, that's something I pay attention to. But I'm not going to wait until the last minute to bet games that I think I got some value on early in the day.
Right, and that goes back to, of course, beating closing line value, CLV. You'll hear a lot of people talk about that. If you can beat the closing line on a consistent basis, then you're probably going to have an edge in sports betting because theoretically, the closing line, the final price at tip-off, should be the most accurate price because everything has been taken into the equation, the injuries, the starting lineups, the sharp money, the square money, everything. And by the way, 4-point move to the under so far in this game today. As for what it's worth on the total, 155.5 down to 151. So we'll keep an eye on that. Bryan, you mentioned you basically gave everything away because you're on the hockey show, you're on the college basketball show at 2 Eastern, NBA show at 4:15 Eastern. You're here with us right now. But what else you got going on? $9 Monday, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, if you sign up for my hockey for the season or a month, you'll get 2 additional plays I've got up there other than the one I've got up for sale that you can get if you watch the hockey show. Yeah, I'm still working on these as we're going between the games here. I'm still trying to find a little value. I liked Teddy's NBA play. That's probably one that I'm going to be on also. So I might as well give that out too. But yeah, it's one of those things that right now in college basketball been red hot in everything really. I think I'm a 34-20 something like that run overall. So just get a month. I saw an ad. I think it was on the hockey show. It was like $199 for anybody till the end of the year. That's a hell of a bargain. Get that right now and get all the plays from any of us.
Yeah, Bryan, I was just going to mention that, it's a great time to step in for any capper right now and get the rest of the year, the rest of 2022 for $199. We talk about $9 Monday. That's $7 Monday because it's $7 a day for the rest of the year. Every sport, every play, every day. Use that for multiple cappers and finish the year strong. Right now, no promo code needed. Everybody has it on their page. $199 gets it done for the rest of the year. And also the College Football Bowl All Access package is up for $149 for everybody right now as well. No college football show today, but we do have Teddy with Opening Line Report at 1 Eastern. Brian will be back at 2 Eastern, the college basketball show. And then, of course, Teddy and Brian 4:15 Eastern on the NBA show today on Monday. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts when those shows go live. Leave us some comments below. And Teddy, I'll do this again tomorrow with you on Tuesday. Take us home.
I look forward to it, Steve. That's going to wrap it for the Monday edition of Wager Talk Today. Like you said, we'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, you guys know what to do. Enjoy the games, and good luck.
Let's finish off 2022 with a bang. First, we'd like to thank everyone as a record number of you took advantage of our Thanksgiving 7-day special. We hope you enjoyed the convenience of getting your favorite handicappers plays daily during the hectic holiday weekend. And we also know that December can be a frenzied month with the holidays and all the sports in play. In the spirit of the season and due to the success of the Thanksgiving special, we are now offering a rest of the calendar year special to get every NFL, college bowl game, NBA, NHL, or any other sport your favorite handicapper releases through December 31st for only $199. The early bird really does catch the worm for this special as it starts the day you sign up. No coupon is needed and you pay only $199 today or pay $199 in a few days. The choice is simple. Let's have a great ending to 2022.